Thank you for joining me, Shirin. It's an absolute pleasure to be having this conversation with you. Let's first just start with how are you? How are you doing today? I know you're in New York at the moment, so we've got a 5-hour time difference between us.
First of all, lovely talking to you and meeting you, and very happy about that.
So you're on the jury for this year's CIRCA Prize alongside a number of other distinguished guests and artists, and I have been given the pleasure of asking you a few questions that might just help some potential applicants with submitting works and to give them an idea of the type of works that you're looking to also see and hoping to see in their applications. So I'll start with this first question. It's quite loaded, at least for me, which is, what does hope mean to you?
It's a very interesting question. First of all, I had the great honor of working with CIRCA last year. It was just tremendous, and I really support them. And I think whatever they do, it's just fascinating and unique. You know, it's funny because I always ask myself, because I make work that are extremely dark and often disturbing and often violent and everything, but there's always this element of hope. So I think as a human being, my whole constitution is based on this duality between despair and hope, and that somehow translates into my work, because you know, as we see difficult things happening in the world and to the environment, politically, you know, all kinds of issues, and also on most existential level, things that we face as human beings and are afraid of. And you ask yourself, then what is the meaning of this life, and what is the purpose of existing? And then yet you find reasons for continuing a very positive outlook. And so somehow in all my narratives, the stories I'm always telling, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that's the way to live. That's the way I live. That I look for meaning and not hope in a superficial level, but find meaning in even in struggles, in even questions, and the state of despair. And there's this aim for resolution and finding meaning, and that's hopeful.
I agree with you totally. I mean, I think for hope to exist, there has to be a state of hopelessness as well. There has to be a comparative point, because in itself, it's a feeling and therefore it's subjective. I definitely see this resonate in your work, and the notions of despair and of grief, of exile, of distance, of transience. These are all points that one would naturally tie to hopelessness. But in order to even platform them and to give them the space in the first place to explore them, to show them, to engage with them, is in itself a form of hope, because you're not negating it, you're acknowledging it, you're accepting it, and you're sharing it with an audience.
So interesting you say that, because in times of crisis or grief, or for example in Iran with Women Life Freedom, in the worst of crisis, artists and culture and art become so important in terms of that spirit of hope, because it seems even more necessary in the moments of grief and the moments of political crisis or whatnot.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely, in terms of artists being the mediums of hope more so than anyone else can. They archive hope, they platform hope. The next question I'm going to ask you, with a bit more of a light-hearted intention behind it, is what would you create right now with £30,000 if this was given to you as a prize?
Oh, that's a lot of money, actually. I think any artist has ideas that, you know, that really does depend on economy and that bit of money to make it reality. I mean, there are times where you say you have an idea, it's just a matter of drawing or something, but there are ideas that really requires, let's say, a video or a project that it's public, or that, you know, productions of some kind. If I had the £30,000, I would think about what kind of production I could do that that normally I cannot do, that it really does require that funding. And I would personally go make a video or something because I'm not a sculptor, I'm not, but I think I would definitely use it towards some kind of a production of thing that otherwise would be not possible for me to do as an artist.
Why do you think that people should apply for the CIRCA Prize this year, especially under the theme of hope? What do you think this can offer to the art world?
I mean, I think the platform that CIRCA has established is so unique. It really crosses so many disciplines. It's so much in the public domain. I think what Josef and his peers have established, it's really one of a kind. And the theme of hope, I mean, I can't think of any other most problematic period. I mean, there's always issues around the world, but we're living in a very dark time. We're surrounded by tyranny, dictatorship, economic disasters, environmental disasters, war, disease, discrimination, racism, and yet we're emphasizing on culture and how the great role that culture plays in bringing hope to the citizens of the world, and how through an artistic expression, whether it's music or theater or a movie or a painting, that it could inspire people, it could provoke people, it could mobilize people, it could energize people in thinking how artistic expression could play such a role in time of despair, as we talked earlier. So I think it's a perfect theme, it's a perfect title for this round of applications, and I'm very optimistic that they're going to get some wonderful projects submitted.
There's something quite interesting about also having public displays of art under the theme of hope as well, right? Because of course, you know, artworks will be screened across various different places and locations around the world, and to be able to publicly kind of get together and to see a piece that is resonating and centering on hope is something quite monumental in, you know, this reality that we live in at the moment, as you said, where we're surrounded by so much tyranny, dictatorship, hardship, and grief and despair. So it almost feels like albeit temporary, but still a tonic of sort to kind of help us mitigate that.
And what's great about this project and what CIRCA does is that it brings art to the street level and to the people. And although we come from very different cultures and ethnicities and religions, but by showing work in Los Angeles to London, in Southeast Asia, whatever, and people in the streets can experience it, it really touches on our humanity and the fact that, look, this is a project that you will see for a few minutes and you don't maybe know much about art, and it's not something you can buy, but it's communicating something important, and it touches you. That's very profound and that's very impactful. So the activist in me is in support of any project, any institution that brings art to the public domain in this degree.
I totally agree with you. And that's also why I chose to be a part of the Curators Circle this year. I think that it allows us to move away from this elitist and, you know, self-perpetuating cycle of echo chamber that the art world can sometimes create. And I think more than anything, sometimes we don't need to criticize. Sometimes we just need to watch and listen.
My collaboration with CIRCA was an image that I made back in 1994 that had been shown multiple times, but the way it was presented at the Piccadilly Square and the way that people experienced it, it was like as if the image was just created for the first time. And it was such a radically different experience, even for me, to see how the audience reacted to it. And the way that the meaning was translated to the public on the street level in that scale, it was astonishing.
What sort of works do you hope to see as a drawer, as an artist?
I hope to see work that it's less about telling us how things are, but really questioning, to create a work of art of any nature that really makes us think and question things for ourselves, that it's open for interpretations. I don't appreciate work too much that is very reductive and polemic or didactic. And it's a challenge how to come up with concepts and ideas that can convey something very profound through a single image or a short video, whatever, that can lead to this kind of open interpretation that I'm looking for. But I don't want someone to tell me how to think or to feel, but I want someone to provoke me to think about something perhaps in a whole new way, you know. And it could be something not political. It could be something very personal, existential, emotional, or it could be something political. I just want to have this possibility to think for myself, have this level of mystery.
There's 4 minutes left, so I'm going to wrap up and just say that it's been an absolute pleasure to even have this short conversation.
I have to thank CIRCA and Joseph for this introduction. I'm really hoping we stay in touch.
Absolutely.